you all are doing swell. So before we get started into the third episode of the Doing Swell podcast, I thought that it was only fitting that I say thank you all so much for your love and support on the last 2 episodes. It honestly means so much to me that people are receiving this so well, and it's motivating people and inspiring people never to give up on their dreams. If you know, I love self-care videos. It's just something that I love speaking about and I love talking about because I feel like it can be a constant conversation and you can just steadily learn stuff from other people as well as more about yourself as well. So I just want to say thank you all so much for your love and support. It honestly means so much to me, and it's just a huge motivation boost for me to keep going with this podcast. So last week we talked about upgrading your life, switching stuff up, as well as a social media detox. If you haven't seen that episode, I have a playlist of the podcast linked in the description box down below so you can catch up on all the ones you haven't heard just yet. But on today, I am talking about relaxing. You're only in your 20s, and the 20s can be a very, very scary thing. I am 24. Believe it or not, I am 24. I get so many questions of people like, how old are you? Like, you look really young, but you don't sound really young. I'm 24. I am not 17. I am not 18. I get that quite a lot. I am 24, but even in my early 20s, I have learned so much about myself, especially graduating college. I thought that it was going to be a smooth sailing transitioning from graduating college over to like the real adult world, and it has been easy in some cases, but in other cases it has been high anxiety, a little bit of depression, a whole lot of fun, making dreams a reality, a whole lot of work and grit. But I just want to talk today about being in your 20s and relaxing and taking time to listen to God, listen to what you want to do in life, and also just seeking different opportunities for help and encouragement and wisdom, because you have older people in your life for a reason. They're there to give you wisdom, give you strength, and to learn. So I just want to talk about some things that I've learned so far with being in my 20s. I have my notes right here, and I also have my coffee. I have an iced oat milk latte, and I actually got it from the brand Stoke, and it's so good. This is the last like dollop from the container, so I'm super sad, but we have our coffee, we have our notes, and we're gonna get started into the third episode of the Doing Swell podcast. I don't know why I usually have like my coffee out, because I just talk the whole time and then I like take sporadic sips like during the breaks. But feel free to have me on the background, or you can just be sipping coffee and it's just like 2 friends talking, like I explained how I wanted this podcast to be set up. But I am going to read some points that I did write, as well as just share with you all my experience so far with being in my 20s. So as I said today, 20s can be a very, very stressful time growing up, especially in the digital age that we're in. It's hard to have that authentic experience that a lot of our parents or older siblings had experienced. It's just the way that we live nowadays. And when I mean by unauthentic, I mean because we are having these constant social interactions, like digital social interactions, if I make myself a little more clear. We're always searching for that instant validation on social media, and it's kind of hard with having that, as well as comparing yourself to like social influencers, people you used to go to school with, or just celebrities in general, just being fed that stuff a lot more at a higher frequency. And that sometimes causes that anxiety within your 20s, because sometimes you feel like you're not measuring up to the other people that you're seeing on social media and just in the digital atmosphere. And so I wrote this thing. I said, I think the age that we're growing up in, it's so hard sometimes to be authentically grown, because we have access to so many platforms that stigma us with comparing and contrasting our lives to others. It's so important to take some time away from social media and do a detox. I am a firm believer that everyone needs a social detox in their life, especially with the age that we're living in. Like I keep saying, there's a lot of negativity out there, and then we can sometimes be overfed negativity because we're constantly on these social media platforms. And so, like I said in 2 other videos, I have been doing a social media detox for about a year. I haven't been on Instagram in quite some time, but I am the happiest when I'm not on Instagram, and that's just not my social media of choice. So when I did ditch Instagram, it was a little bit of a con, because since I model and I do a lot of social stuff with like school, that was a big platform to continuously do that. But if I want to get on, I still have that following. But I feel like with YouTube and creating videos, you can see more of my personality, you can see how I interact, you can get a little more sense of who I am as a person, rather than just posting pictures on Instagram, which is fun, but it doesn't fulfill me like doing this does. And even having this as a social media, from detoxing from Instagram, I'm still allowed to better articulate myself with clients, with working, as well as like interviewing, because a lot of jobs nowadays do want new entry-level hirees to have that social media influence. Yeah, so I can still serve that purpose with being on YouTube. Sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent. But there are so many different, like I said, platforms that we can compare ourselves to nowadays. Like social media influencers, celebs, and just people we might have gone to school with. It's sometimes so hard to see where you are enough and not comparing yourself to other people in their lives, or just seeing where you kind of fit in the whole grand scheme of things. I want to talk about relaxing and not rushing your life trying to catch up with other people, because we all have different seasons with it. That's unprofessional. No. Like I said, we all have different seasons within our lives when we get opportunities to grow and excel, but you cannot compare yourself to someone else's journey. You're not doing yourself a favor. You're doing yourself and your life a disservice trying to compare and keep up with other people, because we all have been blessed with different talents, different attributes, and you can't take your life and try to mimic and compare to someone else's, because you're not living the full and authentic life that you've been blessed with, that God has given you, and you're just not giving yourself enough credit. And so with that, I think that you always need to continuously pose the question to yourself: do the people that I surround myself with, do the things that I surround myself with, are they bringing joy and goodness into my life? Like I said right here, I said it's so fun partying and being wild and just being crazy with your friends, but are those people that you interact with day to day being a positive and constructive influence within your life? You are who you surround yourself with. A lot of people say that, and I am a attest to that. If you surround yourself with good and wholesome people that are striving to do better within themselves, in their world, they are constantly passionate and motivated, they are not procrastinating, they're doing good within the world in general and within their lives, then those are the type of people that you want to surround yourself with. You don't want to have yourself surrounded by negativity, people who are constantly talking down to other people, people who spew hate and gossip. That's not someone that you want to be surrounding yourself with, because more than likely those attributes, their personality is going to rub off on you, because you're constantly surrounding yourself with those type of people. So you kind of want to have in the back of your mind a type of reevaluation system where you're constantly reevaluating whether or not the people that you're surrounding yourself with are beneficial within your life, and are you being a catalyst for being beneficial within someone else's life. And that doesn't mean that you have to necessarily cut off people, but it does mean that you need to spark this kind of conversation within yourself as well as in your friendships. If you see yourself becoming negative, or you see your friends constantly being negative, why not have a conversation with them and seeing what's going on within their lives, and seeing where you both can make a change to be proactive, being optimistic, and spewing out that positivity rather than hate within other people's lives. Because like so many social media influencers, they talk about getting hate and hate comments and all that stuff, but when you like take a step back, see that people who are being hateful, they're having something that they're dealing with within their life, but rather than actually combating that and trying to find the root and the ground issue, they're just taking the hate that's within their lives and just putting out to other people's. So either you are experiencing that type of thing within your life or your friendship, sit back, make a list, and talk about what's going on with your life and how to change that negative worldview into a more positive one. And so I also said, who you are centered around is who you resemble. Are you the person that you inspire to be? Are you being just as influential to those who you are around? And this is another point that I made. The 20s are about finding your true self, your true intentions, and who you want to be within this life. It doesn't have to be as daunting as it might sound. Take time within your 20s to explore your attributes that make you you. If you don't know who you are, take some time to find your likes and your dislikes, as well as what makes you happy and what makes you sad, what your dreams and your ambitions are, and what you want to strive for. Find someone or something that inspires you to work hard, and use whatever that image is as a tool to give you wisdom and to shape you into the person that you are bound to become. And this takes the act of self-reflecting. Like I said, you should always be self-reflecting. You never want to be lagging behind with soul searching and finding out who you are as a person, because each day we are constantly changing. I actually had the conversation yesterday with a few friends. One of my old friends from high school that I was friends with, they friended me on Facebook, and I accepted it because people do change, and I like to think that I've changed as a person too. I think that with time and maturity, people change and their out views on life change as well. But I looked at their pictures on Facebook and I didn't have any ill intentions towards them. Rather than, I was wishing them love and success, and I was hoping that they were doing okay. And I was just having this conversation with one of my friends. I was like, man, it's actually Kendall, but I was like, have you ever had this experience within your life that you were friends with someone, and then do you think that you'll ever be friends with them again? And he made the point that sometimes people go out of your life for your season, and sometimes they come back because you just grown up and you're matured, and then they've gone through stuff and you've gone through stuff, and sometimes you're just angsty teens and you have personalities to just kind of rebuttal. But also in a podcast, Pretty Basic Podcast, Remy Cruz and Alicia, they've also talked about scenarios where they were friends with people in the past, but it's an act of maturity. You know that you have grown up when you wish them nothing but the best, and you hope that they're doing well and all of that stuff. And sometimes people do come back into your life, but also sometimes you just have the personality that does not click or does not mix. But that doesn't mean that that person is negative. That doesn't mean that that person is bad for other people. They're just not good for you. And that's just one of the things I want to talk about, just put out there as well, that you need to have some type of self-reflection. Are you someone that you will want to be friends with or spend your life with? And if you can't come up with a positive answer for that, use your 20s to find out who you are and your personality, and how you can better be a person to serve for yourself and for those who are around you. And I found that when I went to school and I traveled and I found out who my personality was, a big part of that was actually studying abroad. I will have a video and a podcast about that in the future. But a big way that I found out what my likes and my dislikes were, my personality, and how I interacted with people and what kind of people I wanted to surround myself with, was actually through study abroad. And I talk about this all the time, but I actually studied abroad in Prague, Czech Republic, and while I was there I had a dual internship with a Czech NGO, and I studied international business as well while I was there. But being the only person from my university, the only person from Memphis and Tennessee in general, just being around different people from America, but also being uprooted and being with a whole different type of culture, I was able to be completely myself, 100% myself, and find out what my likes and my dislikes were, my characteristics, and what kind of friendships that I wanted to mold and build, and all of that different stuff. And so that's how I began to communicate with people a lot more, and I was able to step outside of my comfort zone and be fully engulfed into the person that God created me to be and crafted me to be. And even when stepping into relationships, whether they be romantic or friendships, you shouldn't be seeking someone to make you a whole. I am a firm believer, and I say this countless and countless times again, you cannot look for a relationship, whether it be a romantic relationship or a friendship, someone that will make you a whole. You have to be a whole in yourself, and you should find someone else that's like a whole or almost a whole, or you can help them build up to be that whole. But it shouldn't be two halves trying to come together to make a whole, because that is never going to work. I'm sorry, but it is not going to work. Especially with relationships, it needs to be two whole people coming together to make a whole different type of whole. And I have experienced this with like friendships and relationships. You can't look for someone who is going to bring you validation within your life. You have to know who you are as a person, and that's why you need to be single and learn who you are as a person and have that confidence within your life and yourself to be a whole. So when you meet that other whole person, you guys are on the same level and you're able to grow from that level and be even more sound and have a head on your shoulders. And I know with my relationship right now, we are two whole people, and we are whole together and we are whole separate. And that is the beautiful thing about maturing and having a solid foundation within a relationship. You are two whole people, you are together, and you have this beautiful love that is blossomed, and it kind of trickles on to other people and helps blossom them. But even if we're a whole together, if we are separated, when we're not together, like during like day-to-day stuff, we're hanging out with friends, we're not together, we are still two whole solid people separated. That makes sense. Like I said, it should be two wholes finding companionship in one another. No one will be able to complete you other than God. So you have to be the one to work hard and complete yourself and make yourself whole. And I honestly think that when you're 20s, you should never have a one-sided friendship. I talked about that in last week's episode. But it should be two people working hard for a relationship and a friendship. It should never be a one-sided type of thing, because that means that you are settling. And me and my friends always talk about this because I have such a great group of girlfriends, and we tend to talk about one-sided friendships because a lot of us have dealt with one-sided friendships where you keep extending a hand and trying to get that relationship back, but people aren't putting in that effort. They're always feeling like you should be the one who keeps reaching out and doing stuff. But something in my 20s clicked. I was like, man, I love myself enough not to keep reaching out to people and I'm not receiving that back. So in your 20s, you need to reevaluate who you are centering around, and also if you're overextending yourself to people who aren't deserving of that branch that you're extending yourself out to. And yeah, so also I said that your 20s should be a time where you explore your insecurities and find strength within yourself. No one is perfect, and therefore we are all battling some type of insecurities that stifle us from being truly ourselves and confident with oneself. And you can either let your insecurities control you, or you can learn and figure out how to outsmart them and find true confidence and strength within your mindset. I also made the point that loving your insecurities is a negative connotation. You should never love your insecurities. You can love the flaws that make you a human, but I don't think that you should idolize and love those insecurities. There's so many things nowadays. I see so many people glamorizing anxiety and mental health and all this different stuff like depression. That's not something to bring love to. That's something that you need to work on, and it shouldn't be glamorized because so many people deal with different variations of mental health. And I'm glad that the society that we live in nowadays is bringing light. More people are talking about mental health, and all of us as a human deal with different variations of mental health, whether that be very, very bare minimum with us just being human, having just anxiety and depression woes from like just day-to-day life, but other people have really, really bad anxiety that they can't go out, or they have really, really bad depression that makes them think like suicidal thoughts. But you shouldn't be glamorizing either one polar opposite of the scale. That shouldn't be something that is taken lightly. It should be something that is taken serious. Like I said, you should not love your insecurities because that is a negative connotation. It's seeking the validation of others and posing the question, what can others do for me to feel better about myself? While loving yourself from the core and loving your strengths and confidence is posing the question, how can you better serve others, and how can we all work together for the betterment? And I think the 20s is a way for you to also discover your talents. We've all been blessed with some type of talents, whether you know them early on or you learn them later on in life. I think the 20s should be a way for you to explore what you've been gifted with. And 20 should also be a way for you to cultivate those talents and explore what makes you happy and focus on things that you are truly good at. Sometimes these talents can turn into hobbies, we can turn into career paths. If there's something that you want to pursue, do your research and see whether or not you can make this talent or this hobby profitable. Also, if there's something that is in the way of holding you back, figure out what the root and the cause is and what that needs to be. Like I said, there isn't such a huge stigma around mental health nowadays, and everyone is suffering from some variation of mental health, whether that be very, very bare minimum to like hitting the scale of top with anxiety and depression and all that stuff. But if that's something that's holding you back, find a doctor or get medicine or go to a psychiatrist, someone who can help you get to the root problem and help build you up, because there's so many different opportunities out there for other people to gain help, and you should take advantage of those if you can. Be a blessing to yourself within your own life. I think that if you have really bad anxiety, find help. If you are suffering from depression, go to the doctor, get medicine, or go to therapy. If you're playing the comparison game, detox from whatever platform you think is making you feel this way. Figure out in general what is holding you back. And the 20s are a time for you to find your likes and your dislikes, like I said, what you're willing to compromise and what you are willing to let go, what you're willing to manage and what you are willing to keep the same. This can be a variation of relationships, job, and as well as friendships. It can just be anything, honestly. And the 20s are a time for you to be fearless, for you to love who you love, explore, for you to travel, to go where you want to go, and for you to be as carefree and acceptable as possible. The camera had ran out of memory, so I need to put another memory card. But like I said, your 20s can be a very, very scary time where you're uncertain, you don't know what you want to do, and I think that there should be more of a conversation about experiencing your 20s, because there's a lot of people growing and going through it, and who are to experience the same thing in life as you are. Me and my friends talk about that always, about just not knowing what we want to do and having so many like goals and aspirations and just not knowing where to start to make them achievable, and just the idle thing of waiting, especially being postgraduate. You're just waiting for like a call back from a job or trying to see where you need to uproot and move to. It's just a lot that goes on to your 20s, but I think that there should be more conversations about it like we're having right now, of just kind of like delving into relaxing and just trusting God and just figuring out what you want to do and being happy and completely yourself within your 20s. And I wanted to like reiterate this last part. I said 20s can be a scary time where you literally have no clue on what you want to do or the feeling of being lost or stuck. It's so important to have these conversations because there are so many people going and growing through what we might be out of college with a whole ass degree and still looking for their dream job. We could be looking for someone that we can share this life with, or we can even still be figuring out who we are as a person. With each and every day, think of something small you can do to help benefit and bless your tomorrow. So, with that being said, that concludes the third episode of the Doing Swell podcast. I hope you all enjoyed it so much and it kind of calmed your heart and relaxed your mind for going through your 20s, because we are all going through similar things. If there's something that you want me to cover, I would would love to do another one of these videos, but make sure you do all that fun stuff. Like give this video a big old like, subscribe below if you haven't already, and also leave me a comment of something that you might want me to cover in another podcast episode, or we can just have a conversation within the comments in regards to one of the topics that I talked about today. But I just love feedback, so please leave me a lot of feedback so I know what to better improve, or if you like what I'm talking about. But until the next episode, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope you relax, because we are all going through the same thing, and there's no need to like worry or feel stuck or feel timid or just feel alone. If you need someone to talk to, you can always reach out to me. I have my email on my YouTube channel, but you can also just leave me a comment and I will respond to them. I'm like super open to talk to anyone if you just need someone to talk to. But without further ado, I will check you guys out in one of my other weekly videos, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys later. Bye.